Sitting outside of where they've done all the damage going,
You catch one groundhog, then you let it die out there on its own and leave it right by the entrance as a
the
sign
rest
to
of them
the other
say,
ones.
this is no place to be.
Yeah. You're sending a message. This is what's going to happen to you.
Hang it upside down from a tree.
Yeah.
We
Sure,
were
the neighbors
lonely
won't have
in
any
here,
issues
Lee.
with that.
Mary's coming.
It's a slow morning.
It
Seems
is.
like it. Yeah.
Pentecost has that vibe.
So which one are your sermon gonna be on?
It's a surprise.
Never a surprise.
I am preaching on Acts.
Yeah.
Actually, Pentecost, yeah. Which the last time
Oh, you are here.
was 5 years ago, I think, that I
Well, we
preached on this
didn't
text.
expect you. Oh, what a pretty blouse.
Yes,
I don't
very
know why.
nice. Came back just for
Carol?
this meeting.
We have a meeting. Oh, we have a meeting. That's right. Like, what are we doing? Wow.
We should have thought of that, we would have known that she was coming.
Yeah, I know she'd be back if she had something she had to do.
Yep.
Well, I suppose we
How was the weather up there?
away from Mary.
Cold.
I don't wanna.
Oh, really?
And the
Not that
road
she's
was
really gonna
going
miss
on.
out on
The
this.
She
watch
told me-
boat
told me the
lifts
same
weren't
receipt.
in, so
Take
there's
it,
nothing to do.
yes.
You can go for a boat ride.
Yeah, it's
The kids
Well,
left
the
to
weird thing
feed
was like
us, so we
Memorial
came
Day. I
back.
expected it to be like, oh, everyone's gonna be gone.
We
had like a
good
full house.
turnout, yeah.
And then last week and this week, I think it's gonna be like dead. I don't know
Yeah,
what's.
we had 70 something, I think.
Yeah, Memorial Day was surprising. We'll see what Pentecost brings out.
Last week was pretty low. It seemed.
Yeah.
Nearly.
Well, you know, I think at first it seemed like, well, right before service began, it seemed very like, oh wow, there's nobody here, and there were no kids at all. Like I was getting ready to do the candle lighting, and then right at the last minute we had all the. I forgot that the kids don't have Sunday school, so of course they're not going to be here early.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, all the kids showed up at the last minute. So that was probably a good 15 to 20 people right there. Like, oh yeah, that's how.
Yeah, that was last week, we had 70.
Yeah, yeah.
70.
Oh, well, Mary will just have to catch up, I guess. So today is Pentecost. Yay. It's just, Pentecost was a harvest festival for the Jews, 50 days after Passover. So it didn't start off, like it wasn't created like all of a sudden we discovered Pentecost or it was a Christian thing. It was a Jewish holiday, but kind of like how, Jesus kind of takes the Passover and create something new out of that, like the meal. That institutes his supper, and that becomes part of our communion. Well, not part of it, but I mean our communion service. How he takes, we take the Sabbath and shift it over to Sunday because Easter. So now Pentecost
Is
is
your
one of
camera
those. What's that?
Is your camera on?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry,
I
we have
think
a
so.
red light at club and I don't see a red light. Never
Oh,
mind.
it's on this end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm like,
Sorry.
I think so.
Didn't want anyone to miss this.
Yes, it's on. Okay, we're live. So yeah, it was a harvest festival. So this is why all the people are there. Is why all the pilgrims have come back to Jerusalem to bring celebration for the harvest. Yada yada yada. Bring their offerings. So that's kind of the background of what's going on there, and then that's when Jesus sends the Holy Spirit to the disciples, and they start speaking in tongues. And yeah, so we're going to talk about that today. And really, the focus that I'm dealing with is not so much the what, but the how. And not like the speaking in tongues part, but just drawing out a little bit of thought on, there were two ways that we could have gone, or that God could have gone with this. Either make everybody understand what the disciples were saying. So you have people who are coming who their first language might not have been Aramaic, even though a lot of people spoke Aramaic. And really, actually, that would even be more of the question is like, well, if a lot of these people were speaking Aramaic, even if they come from foreign lands, then what's the purpose of the speaking in tongues? You know, if they could already understand. I mean, it's not like all of a sudden nobody could understand anybody. You know, once you come to Jerusalem, you're like, oh, well, they're speaking a completely different language here. It's like, well, there was, you know, Greek was the Koine Greek was common enough for most people. Aramaic was the kind of general language of the region. So it wasn't like completely chaos apart from Pentecost. So why did God have to do that? And he could have just had everybody just understand, well, perfectly. But instead he had the disciples all of a sudden given this gift to speak in native languages. And so what we're going to talk about in the sermon is kind of like why that is and what impact that would have made. And the kind of the core of the message is talking about heart languages. Anybody know what that is? Okay, good. So a heart language is referring to a person's, it's not always their first language, but it's usually their first language. It's the language they're brought up in.
Oh.
So it's, I guess it's less a concept for us because, you know, we're Americans. We speak English. Everybody speaks English. We're the center of the world. We don't need to learn anything else, you know. You learn a second language because it's a requirement in high school. That's about as far as most Americans go with the second language. So I think this is maybe a little bit more understood in other places where there is kind of like they learn their native language obviously first, but then they learn other languages. And English is often like, you know, you'll encounter somebody in a foreign country where obviously they speak their native language, but they also speak English. I mean, good Lord, you come here and chances of somebody speaking your tongue is good luck. So this concept is probably more understood elsewhere with other people, but the idea, the concept, is that there might be all sorts of languages that you understand, but there's always one that is, it's your heart language, it's your home.
So a German said to my daughter, do you know what the universal language is? Bad English.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, but I mean, so like
I
a
mean,
German,
even in America, they say human eye and stuff like that.
That's why they teach English in schools. It's a second language.
They don't teach it well because those young people speak a different language than I ever heard of.
True.
But the example, like a German person who speaks German and English, like they understand English, and when they're hearing something in English, they can get it, they understand. But when they're hearing the same thing in German, it's like, oh, they understand it better, and not necessarily maybe better,
Has a
but just
new meaning.
more meaningful.
But when they hear bad English, they can't understand it. They're going, wait a minute, it should be thus and so and thus and so. So they go through that loop.
Well, and that's part of the difficulty with the languages is that when you hear a language that you just understand, well, okay, you know, you're piecing it together. You're trying to you're focusing on the words, like what does this mean? Make sure the comprehension is there.
Yeah.
But when you're speaking in your heart language or your native tongue, you get all of those little those nuances and all the meaning behind it. And you know, well, I know in Chinese where you could have one word that means several different things, but the way you inflect it, the way it's just the way it might sound a little tweak here completely changes it. And it's the way it's maybe where it's in the sentence or how it's used completely changes the meaning. You know,
But even in China, isn't different areas have a different.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
dialects and whatnot.
Well, it's just like in this country. I mean,
Oh, well, totally.
there's
say potato,
American
I say
language and
potato.
there's English, and
Well, and
but
there's
we don't speak English.
there's like in the South, you can say bless your heart, and that can mean an honest like, oh, bless your heart, that was so nice. Or in other areas, bless your heart really means like,
Yeah, right.
it's a little bit more dismissive. I saw, well, I mean, you all know, well, for me, you know, it's dude, you know, the way I use dude is like aloha. I can, you know, dude means anything. And there's this, I'm not going to mention the name of the movie because you guys might actually go look for it. And I don't need that reflecting back on me. But there's this great scene in this movie that I love it so much, where these two guys are, there's a conflict that's arisen between them. And they're kind of fighting, and it results in like, dude, before you're like, dude, you know, you totally did this. And like, dude, no, I didn't mean it. He's like, dude. And then they just all said, dude, and they just keep saying it back and forth. But the funny thing is, I'm like, well, I get what they're saying. Because finally the guy goes, dude! And he's like, dude. Like, dude. I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly what they're saying.
That
I don't need the words.
That was a whole scene.
Oh yeah, and it was perfect. But it's like, so I get that, but somebody else might be like, what's going on? And then I saw something I posted on Facebook a while back. It came back on my thing, where, and I assume this is a California-ism, where it's like when you say like, yeah, no. Like somebody says, oh, are you going there? Yeah, no. It's like, well, yeah, no. It's like, well, yeah, no means no. Like, whether like, oh, are you good? Oh, no, yeah. Did you say no? No, yeah, I did. It's like, well, no, yeah means yes, and then yeah, no, yeah, and it's like this connection, the collections of yeahs and no's that the way you put them together means different things, and it was like, ooh, yeah, that's true.
At the apartment.
Let's see if I can find that.
At the apartment, we've got a Japanese girl.
Okay.
And she pretty much still speaks Japanese rather than, so it comes out, her English comes out totally different.
Right.
And then we have a Koreans, and we have Hawaiian. Even the Hawaiians speak differently than,
Right.
I mean, it's like they're a different country. So you can understand how in those days, even though those countries look like they're close together, it just, their language
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
changes.
Absolutely.
But it's hilarious having a conversation between these people. And this Japanese girl, her name is Eiko, but it's spelled E-I.
Oh my.
C-O. So we're calling it Echo. And she gets Echo.
Now,
There we
this
go.
is Southern California
Yeah.
language?
Well, I mean, this is California.
Yeah,
I
I
grew
know,
up in.
yeah, I'm sorry.
So yeah, if you say
yes.
like no, yeah, that means yes. If it's yeah, no, that means no. Yeah, no, for sure. Well, definitely, yeah, totally. No, yeah, no, you're good. Like, no, yeah, no, you're fine. Then yeah, no, yeah. I'm sorry, but yes. Like I intuitively know that. Like if somebody said like yeah, no, yeah. Like, oh, okay. There's kind of a like, oh, bummer, but yeah, this is how
I
it's gonna
would
be.
think they couldn't make up their mind.
It's just how see, this is my heart language. This is like what I understand. And like, well, I mean, in Southerners, y'all. I mean, that's a whole different terminology. You know, y'all, all y'all. Different manifestations of this. You know, we're all speaking the same. Technically, sort of, we're speaking the same language, but the way we speak it matters a lot.
It's kind of like the UP, they say after.
Oh, sure, you
Oh,
betcha.
Hey.
the-
Hey.
Although that's
The
more Wisconsin.
Canadians.
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
They infiltrated.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure, you betcha. Go up
We
to-
got a Canadian
Go,
there
go up
too.
to the Menards.
Yeah,
Oh,
I had a good friend that,
Does yeah,
Was
no,
from
for
the
sure
UP.
mean definitely
He
no,
says A
or
so
just
many
No, definitely.
times.
and
Who are playing.
Definitely
Because-
no.
Well, which is fun because
Hey,
yeah,
hey.
no means no.
have a friend that
But if you
does
go
that.
yeah, no for sure, it's like definitely yes.
Definitely
Oh,
yes or
yes.
definitely no?
So you
oh,
can
I'm sorry,
kinda
yes.
drop the yeah, no, just the for
Yes.
sure.
Which is, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you just look at it, you look at the last part, yeah,
He
yes,
still
no,
has
no,
it. Yeah,
for
yeah.
sure, definitely yes, no, no, which, this one's kinda weird because it's no, you're fine, which is like, no, but it's cool. And then yeah is yes, but it has this.
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you.
Yes.
Here.
If you're writing out a sentence, doesn't that take a long time?
Oh, you don't write that down. Let's go see if Heather would come in and verify this for me. No, this is real. I mean, I'm not making this up. And there's yeah. Anyway, so this, like I said, that's my heart language. Like you can understand it, right? If you read or heard this, I mean, you'd know what the words individually meant.
I think they were pretty confused.
Well,
That's
but
fine.
you'd be like,
But
okay, I
still
know you're
could
speaking
understand what
English,
you're talking about.
but you don't quite get what I'm saying. And I've had experiences here where I'm like, no, yeah, I'm like, well, yeah, no. They're like, well, what does that mean? It's like, oh, but you said yeah. I'm like, no, I said yeah, no. How do you not know this? And because this is really more like, you know, oh, okay.
Uh-oh.
Is that accurate?
You taught back this at home then, your kids and everything?
Oh, yeah.
All right,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
yeah.
See, that's how I say, yeah, no, for sure. I don't even, it's not even a thought process. It's just like, I don't know. Like, she just looked at it for a second and she was like, yeah, that's how, yeah.
Did Caitlin have any trouble since she went to college? Communicating?
No,
So,
Gen
oh,
Z
see,
like
I'd
has
say-
a whole different language, so
See, I would say
I
to
don't
that.
know what she's saying half
Yeah,
the time.
no. Did Caitlin have any trouble in college? Yeah, no.
Yeah, no.
See, that's kind of like, I think what, okay, so
It's
I think
always-
what's behind
it's
it
like
is,
situation.
I'm acknowledging that I
That's what it
understand
is.
your question, and like, yeah, and I understand that most people would have a problem, yeah, but no, she didn't.
She flipped real well, okay,
Yeah,
that's
so,
cool.
so yeah, no.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no.
no.
Yeah, no.
It's just verifying the no, huh?
See, now that I made you aware of that, you're gonna pick up on every time I say this. Like, no, yeah, yeah.
No, I'm writing this down for my grandson who's going to school in Claremont.
Actually, I thought you were very
He'll know what
confused
people
when I
are
first
saying.
met you.
Oh, I am, I'm still confused. Oh, that hasn't changed, not at all. Okay, that was it, I just wanted to see if you could verify that for me, because they didn't believe me.
Oh, yeah, no.
See?
No, it's, yeah,
See?
yeah.
She just did it, she wasn't even trying.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 No, that's right. Oh, and see, is that right? Yeah, no, that's right. That's how you would say that. Is that right? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's right.
yeah, yeah. Okay, back. Gotta go.
That's how we talk.
Finish calling nursery.
Carry on a long conversation without saying anything.
I don't know why this is, but this is honestly, this comes so naturally. Don't even think about it, and it doesn't even like you guys. So yeah, Connie says it. I thought you were confused, and you still might think I'm confused, and I am. But with this, no, absolutely not.
So that's your
Did
heart
I just say yeah, no again?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's-
there we go. Yeah, no. I'm
That's
not.
your heart
Yeah.
language, Pastor.
Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah.
Doesn't go
Yeah.
very far.
No, yeah. Oh, no, that's yeah, no, but then yeah for, I'm sorry, but yes.
Does your mom talk this way too? Would she comprehend?
Yeah, no.
She can comprehend it, yeah. I don't know that she talks like that. She might. I can't recall. Any specific
It comes
occasion?
naturally, so you don't even know if they're talking like.
Right, but this was kind of, wow, we've gone from from Pentecost to 1980s California Valley slang. This really came out more in the 70s, 80s.
Oh, okay.
And really more the 80s, kind of the Valley Girl, you're like, oh sure, and you're like, totally radical, oh my gosh, that whole thing. So I think this is more born out in kind of California mall surfer culture kind of. This is a
Young.
weird discussion we're having right here. I'm not sure where we're. There's theology in this somewhere. I don't know what it is, but there is.
Yeah.
Heart language, that's not what we're talking about. So anyway, the point being is that that's the thrust of the sermon is that, the speaking in tongues, while miraculous in and of itself, was more notable, at least in my opinion, was more notable that he enabled each disciple, and it was more than the 12. There was a whole bunch of them gathered together in that place. So it wasn't just the 12. On Pentecost, it was all the people gathered. So God gave them the ability to speak on a personal level to all these people beyond the common language and into their heart language. So
Oh, that's the first time I realized it was more than the disciples that.
oh yeah. So if you go to Acts, and this is where this is why it's whenever you get when the day of Pentecost had come, they were all together in one place. It's like, well, if you go back.
And at this point, it was just the 11, right?
Well, it was right after the 11. So they picked, because if you go back to Acts 1, you've got Jesus ascends, and then they choose Matthias to replace Judas.
Oh,
And
okay.
if you go back to verse 15, so Acts chapter 1, verse 15, in those days, Peter stood up among the believers. Together the crowd numbered about 120 persons, and said, friends, the scripture had to be fulfilled. So even though they're picking somebody to fill Judas's spot for the 12, Peter is speaking to 120 people gathered together. So we go from, in those days, Peter stood up among the believers, about 120 persons, and then he talks about Judas, yada, 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 and it says, and they cast lots for them, and the lot fell on Matthias, and he was added to the 11 apostles. When the day of Pentecost had come, they were all together in one place. So there's a chapter division, but that's a later addition. So the narrative just kind of follows and flows through that. I mean, you could make an argument that's like, well, when the day they were all together in one place, well, they were talking about the 12 previously about choosing one, but it was the whole company that we're talking about it. So it's a little bit fuzzy, but there's no distinction being made that we're switching from the group to the 12.
But in chapter 2, the epistle reading, chapter 2, verse 14, the top of our page on the back, but Peter standing with the 11.
Right.
So how many were in the room?
That's the question. You can make a case for the 12 or the 11. Well, it's Peter and the 11. So you can make the case for the 12 or with a company of believers. I tend to go with the company of believers just because there's not that clear distinction. On the day of Pentecost, they were all gathered together. Now, when Peter stands up and speaks for the 12, I mean, he is speaking as an apostle, so he's a representative of the 12, making kind of an authoritative sermon, essentially. So, it's one of those, you know what, you could...
Yeah, no. For
Yeah, no,
sure,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, oh yeah. So what? what was it? 12? Yeah. No. Yeah, maybe. I tend to go with the whole company rather than just the 12. But I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter as much.
You can pull out of a crowd the certain ones you're speaking to.
Sure.
I mean, that could be
Sure.
why it specifies the 11. He's making a point to them.
Yeah. So it could be either way, honestly. It doesn't change, really, the impact, because, and this is where the point I'll make in the sermon, is that we see the disciples or the apostles, the 12. So if you're just looking at it like we're reading it, and if you want to read it as only the 12 had this gift, we read into that. Well, of course, it's the 12. They're special. The apostles are special, and absolutely they are. They were called to do certain things. They had the ability to do certain things. So there's absolutely something separate about them. But when the people, verse 7, and they were amazed and astonished, saying, "Are not all these who are speaking Galileans?" So when the people hear the apostles speak, and you got to remember, these are people from far off. These are pilgrims who have come from out of town. So it's not like they know who apostles are. They don't know necessarily who Peter is. Peter might have been a big name around Jerusalem and Judea, but if you're coming from Mesopotamia, okay, you might have maybe heard something, but so they come and they hear these guys speaking in their languages, and they're like, wait, these are Galileans. And to them, Galilean is code word for a hick, somebody who doesn't know anything, uneducated. Galileans are stupid people. They don't know anything. Galileans don't speak other languages, like him.
I don't speak other languages, you're right.
See? Galilean, through and through. So they're looking at this, they're not regarding them as, ooh, these are apostles, they can do special things. They're just like, who are these idiots? So for me, just having the number of people speaking in tongues being more the collection, just helps me kind of put myself in that headspace of, who are these people who are now speaking my language? When we stay with just the apostles, it's like, well, of course, they're special, and it's like they've been granted gifts from on high. It's like, well, we get that, but not them. Either way, you can't go wrong either way, because the message is the same. Whether or not it was a 12 or 120 of them, they're still speaking personally in like that dialect, which, I mean, totally. If I am even here amongst you strange people in this strange land, and if I'm at Costco and I run into somebody and they're like, oh, I'm like, hey, where did you find that in here? And then, oh, no, yeah. And I was like, dude. And then they'd be like, oh yeah, dude, really something happened? Oh man. And so we would start to, but I mean, there is kind of that connection of like, oh, you get it. So I'm like, yeah, how'd you get here? You took the 127, right? It's like, yeah, I took the 127. Well, how else are you going to get here? And see, in my head, I'm like, yes, because you don't take 127 to Saginaw. You take the 127 to Saginaw. Every freeway is the numbered freeway, the whatever. That's just how we talk. It's weird for me to hear you guys say, oh yeah, you take 96 all the way down. I'm like, I have to like stop and process that in my head. Okay, take the 96. Okay, cool. I mean, it's not a hard thing for me to decipher, but it is sort of like a little glitch moment where I reprocess that in my head. Okay, the 127, the 96, the 69, the whatever. But I mean, those are like the little processes that I have to make to translate it into my speak. And that's what's going on at Pentecost, is they're not hearing, they're hearing like this great sermon, this law gospel sermon, but they're not just hearing it, they're like experiencing it. They're like, oh no, you're speaking it to me. You're not just speaking it to a whole bunch of people, because like, that would be in Aramaic, and everybody, most people can understand it. But it's like, no, you're telling me in my language, in ways that I can get it, like with nuance and like with, oh, okay, you understand me. And that's kind of the key right there when you visit a different country, and you're trying to talk to somebody, like just to order food with somebody who doesn't speak English.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, and you're like, no, and you point, yeah, this right here.
I know.
And then it's like, well, what do you want on it? It's like, chicken, I don't know. fish, beef, or the devil. I don't know what that is.
The devil with it, I can't think of it.
Right. So it's like you start and they're like, they ask you for your order in that language, oh gosh, this is going to be a whole thing. But then they say, oh, I'm sorry, I can speak English. Oh, God, yes, thank you. And then it's like you feel better. And it's like you put in your order with that person who speaks English, and then you go back to your seat and you say, I know I feel good about this. I'm going to get exactly what I ordered. Whereas, you go to a place, well, shoot, I went to an Indian restaurant here a while back, and I love Indian food. I love it. I don't know if I love any kind of food, but Indian food is awesome. And especially in my vicarage, there was an Indian family, and they'd invite us over, so like home cooked Indian food, oh my gosh, the best. So I'm always looking for like an authentic Indian restaurant. I found one in Okemos, and the menu was all in
language.
Yeah, I was like the names were Anglicized or anglicized or whatever. I could read it, but like the description and everything, had no idea. So I was like, and the person who was taking my order, like, they either couldn't speak English or they didn't have time for me. Cause I was like, and they just like would say something, and I'm like, okay. So I found one that was like, oh, that looks. I did, yeah. I pointed. I'm like, I had no idea what I ordered, and I'm like, well, I'll probably like it. And it came, and I'm like, it was okay. I probably wouldn't have ordered it.
I had a friend from England that came over. It was a soccer exchange from one country to
Mhm.
another, and she stayed at my house, and we stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning comparing words
Yeah.
that they use that we don't. It means the same, but it's totally different.
Right.
And just like you said with the language in California, I mean, you get out of that state and get into another state like Oklahoma, and they've got their own little.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You mean like crackers and cookies?
Well, no.
Well, that's just wrong. That's just flagrantly
like
wrong.
a washcloth is a flannel.
Cookies, please,
there.
come on.
Is it flannel?
It's called a flannel.
Oh.
Well, and here's the fun thing. So, yeah, American. So, we go over like to England and we get all upset because they call like chips crisps, and they call
I
fries
know.
chips. Because for us, chips are chips and fries are fries. Well, for them, fries are chips, and it's like usually you always hear Americans being so like indignant about it. But we're okay here with ordering fish and chips. It's like the one time it's acceptable, which is a quirk of our language where it's like, well, of course,
Right.
fries are fries are fries are fries, unless they're with fried fish. Then they're chips, and only then are they chips. Because nobody ever calls fries chips other than fish and chips. Went deep on the theology today. Pentecost. Voila. Well, now I feel better because Mary didn't miss much.
Apparently Henry got up right after I left, so she wasn't right behind me like I thought.
It's all good. Oh my goodness.
She's got things to do.
Any theological questions you might have about Pentecost or any of these readings?
Oh.
And of course, on the day that I even had like an outline about.
I
Like,
just
here's the
can't
points I
believe
can
that
hit
we
Bible
all
study.
understand each other.
What's that?
I just can't believe we all understand each other.
That's a daily miracle.
So does the little flames of fire stay on their head for how long? Because now the people are coming out and saying, they're not saying they got fire on their head, they just think they're drunk.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it just like it rested on their head, like rested, or if it came and rested and then
Turned in.
like absorbed. I have no idea.
Yeah. It's
I mean,
not
I would
clear.
imagine it either went away or just other people couldn't see it because then the people would have been like, hey, they're drunk, and be like, hey, their heads are on fire, which would have been a bit more startling and noteworthy.
And then if you go on in the epistle reading towards the end there, show wonders, signs on the earth below, blood and fire and vapor of smoke, we've certainly got that. Sun shall be turned to darkness with that Canadian smoke it is, and the moon to blood, it looks red at night from that smoke, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, and that's, you know, what he's talking about there is like, you know, he's talking about these last days sort of things, like it shall come to pass that these are the things you'll see. You know, the same thing Jesus was saying, wars and rumors of wars, like, yeah, we get that all the time. So it's like, whoa, things are going to be scary and terrifying, okay? But he ends it with verse 21, and it shall come to pass that everyone who calls upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. So it's like, yes, all this crazy stuff and scary stuff is happening as we get closer and closer to the end, but everyone who calls on the name of the Lord shall be saved. And then he leads into that from, and this Lord is this Jesus Christ whom you crucified, you killed him, and he is the one who brings you life, and you killed him. And it cuts them to the heart, and they're like, oh, what do we do? And he says, repent and be baptized. So he does bring good news. Yeah, no.
I have a question about the gospel.
Yes.
Why does it say in the verse 30?
Sorry, we don't have time for that.
Oh, you're right. Forget it. Why does it say that Satan is the ruler of this world?
Oh,
because
because
I know that he has some dominion, but
yeah, that's all it means. Is that he, you know, when we look at the world, you know, what does it look like? I mean, it looks like Satan's in control.
yeah.
And so he's the ruler of this world in terms of he has authority to do things, but
Only what God gives him, though,
right. And this is some I'm pretty sure Luther said is Satan is God's devil, or the devil is God's, I don't know. Anyway, the idea is that God has authority over him. Satan can only do what God allows him to do, which opens up that whole question, well, why does God allow that? And then that's a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
So is Satan the ruler of this world? I mean, in a sense, you can speak of it that way. Of course, you know, you would properly counter that with, you know, Satan may be the ruler of this world, but, you know, Christ reigns over all things, over the universe, heaven and earth. You know, and really that would be the specific nature of like saying Christ rules over heaven and earth, all things, above, below, seen, unseen. Satan has dominion on the earth, what we see. You know, he does not have dominion over the spiritual realm, over our souls in heaven, or the souls in heaven of those who have died. His authority over us is present only until we die. Well, if we're believers, I guess. If you're an unbeliever, sorry. But yeah. Now, some people take that in weird ways and like, oh, well, yeah, you know. So Satan is the ruler of this world, so we've got to rise up and become more militant. It's like, well, no. He might be the ruler, but Christ has won the victory. So we have all these. I mean, for Lutherans, this isn't a big deal because it's those tensions that we like to play with. Or it's like, well, yes, Satan is ruler of this world. Christ rules over all things. It's like, well, you can't have both. Like, sure you can. No problem. So yeah. Closing it out with something on message. All right. I'll leave this up in case you want to take notes.
I think it's set in my